The epidermis is composed of a stratified squamous epithelium that contains keratin. So we would say that it is keratinized or that it is a keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. It is avascular, meaning that it lacks blood vessels and capillaries, just like all of the epithelial tissues are avascular. It is embedded with numerous sensory structures and nerves, and we'll examine a few of those shortly. It consists of 5 layers or strata, and we'll examine those strata from deep to superficial. The deepest stratum of the epidermis is called the stratum basale. It's a stratum that makes physical contact with the dermis, or rather it is bound and connected to the dermis. The stratum basale contains several different cell types. The basal cells are the most numerous of the cells that are found within the stratum basale. They function to undergo mitosis, and new basal cells are pushed upward towards the surface of the tissue. And eventually those basal cells become a cell type called a keratinocyte that produces the keratin fibers and eventually dies and forms a protective layer of dead cells at the top of the tissue. The melanocytes that are found within the stratum basale produce pigments called melanin, and the pigment gives color to both our hair and our skin. The melanin pigments function to shield the nuclei of the basal cells and the keratinocytes from sunlight. So specifically it shields them from the ultraviolet or UV light that is in sunlight, as that type of light damages the DNA of the basal cells and the DNA of the keratinocytes. They produce 2 types of melanin. Eumelanin is a brown pigment melanin, and pheomelanin is a yellow-red pigment of melanin. Melanin pigments the hair in addition to the skin. Melanin production tends to differ with individual, and some people produce more melanin, others do not. Those with dark hair and skin produce proportionally more eumelanin, while individuals with blonde or red hair and lighter skin tend to produce more pheomelanin. And finally, the stratum basale also contains tactile cells, which are referred to as Merkel cells. And these cells are sensitive to gentle touch, meaning that the skin can be very lightly pressed or brushed in order for them to become activated and sense that particular touch. They're particularly abundant in the epidermis of the hands and the feet.